Are the traditions of church before COVID-19 still relevant? Are we doing enough to engage the community and the next generation post-COVID? Stay tuned as we get locked and loaded.
Hear the voice of the youth, standing up for the truth. Hear it loud, hear it strong, and we not turn it down. Hear the voice of the youth, standing up for the truth.
Hey guys,
Hey.
welcome back to our Locked and Loaded episode. Church BC cancelled before COVID.
Mhm.
I am Sharon Gittins and I am here with
Glenn Eversley.
and
Judah. Good night, everybody.
Oh, man. Good night,
yeah,
guys.
good night. We hope you guys are doing well. I want to invite you to send this link to all your friends, get them to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us and watch as we engage. Hi Emily, hi Donisha, hi everyone. Welcome again.
Nice.
Yep. So we're gonna start off with an engaging question, which is today being brought to you by Glenn.
Oh, okay. Now I just wanted to ask you guys really and truly, um, what were your most, or what is your most memorable or funny or comical church experience you've had, Judah? Do you
I,
have any?
I go ahead, Sharon.
No, I want her, Judah. Or no?
I don't have one. That's the thing. Like nothing is coming to mind in terms of like the most memorable thing. But I can say like what I miss about church, if that's cool. I could say because that's
Sure.
one thing that like stands out the most to me about being in church, which is just the vibe with everybody,
The
singing,
vibe.
Mm.
dancing together, seeing people happy and that kind of thing. So that's the thing for me. What is your most memorable or comical experience, Sharon?
Okay, this would be a memorable one.
Mm.
So there was a time that I went to church. I was rushing to church. I got there late, and I was trying to say excuse me to pass to get through the aisle, but the guy just would not move. So I just pushed past, and then it's only
Sure.
after that I was late and I wanted to,
Whoa.
sorry, but
Sorry to the man.
I I pushed past because I was like, this guy, like he not hearing me say excuse me or he's not worrying. Next thing you know, I realized that he was actually in a wheelchair, and while he was
Yikes.
because he had to be helped to stand up, which I obviously wouldn't have seen, but he couldn't move even though I said excuse me. So then when I saw that, I just could not stop thinking about it throughout the whole service. So then after the service was finished, I went to him and I apologized, but he said he
Mm.
didn't even realize.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's
That's
good. He didn't realize. 'Cause, wow.
right.
Yup.
Glenn, what
Glenn.
about you?
For me, I can start with comical. I remember, and it's something I remember to this day. I was in church. It was years ago, and the preacher was saying, we have this imagination of what God sounds like with this big, deep, thunderous voice, but really and truly, we don't
Mhm.
really know his audible voice. So it's like he was saying, imagine we all get to heaven and then we just hear, "Welcome, children." Like the whole church just start laughing. That was just I found that hilarious. Nah, it was funny. It was funny. It was funny. It was funny. It was hilarious. But yeah, what I miss about church, honestly, I miss doing lighting, and of course, I miss worshiping with my brothers and sisters in Christ. Like I miss it a lot. But yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. Great stuff.
Mhm.
And if you guys have any memorable experiences, you can feel free to let us know. Yep, so those were ours. So now we are going to go into the featured music video. And the featured music video is a song by KB featuring Lecrae called Church Clap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great
So we're
song.
gonna play that now.
Yep. It's true, guys.
Church mother in a church hat clap. Man, that sugar gave her color purple coming back clap. When that whole week beat you up and stress you, but you hear that organ playing and remind you of your blessings. And on another note, she just hit another note. Chills down my spine, got me crying, make me overload. You don't know about it though. Old school church hymns, deacons get the humming, now the drummer finna burst in. Lordy, Lordy, Lord. Can you hear me now? Church close, sweater, you don't care, you just get it now. Testify how we made martyrs out of these fathers and rose up all of his daughters to glorify him with honor. Man, I swear Thomas Jones with her head did. Now it's flying everywhere, she don't care what her head did. She an egg, yeah, caught up in the egg, yeah. Probably why she clapping like Jesus just repaired, yeah. Give me that God Almighty, that good old gospel, that old school doctrine. Give me that truth for the body, ain't nothing new about it, but it's still full of power. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. 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 I wanna be the type of dude to get the Lord on his feet. I wanna do the type of shows that the Lord wanna see. What I mean, if I can make the whole church clap, it ain't a clap in the heavens, then that clap just a clap, clap for his son glorified, sin mortified. The Holy Spirit going word, that truth ain't watered down. It's sound doctrine, keeps birds in the coming out. Nothing wrong with singing loud, but that ain't where the power's on. The church has been clapping at weak sermons, leaving the weak hurt. No one's changed by Sunday service. We need discernment, check what you be affirming, cause the church can be full of members but empty in conversions. Preach the gospel and stand back, look for changed lives, not for hand claps. Love people well, oh they can stand at the church, just the church with the words, but we stand up. Give me that God Almighty, that good old gospel, that old school doctrine. Give me that truth for the body, ain't nothing new about it, but it's still full of power. Church clap, let me hear the church clap. 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 Come on. Come follow me now, come follow me now, no, no, no. Light up and shine, yeah. Come follow me now. If you ready for your change, come follow me now, come follow me now, no, no, no. You hear me now? Me put a fire to burn. See one by one, shine your light them up. Let's kick evil out of town, yeah. See one by one, shine your light them up. Shine your light, I beg you, shine your light to know. See one by one, shine your light them up. Let's kick evil out of town, yeah. See one by one, shine your light them up. Shine your light, I beg you, shine your light to know.
You are watching Locked and Loaded on Echo Nation.
Oh, that was a nice song, wasn't it?
Yep. Oh,
But I can't hear you.
come again.
Whoa. Wow. Right. So I was saying that song has me so pumped like, about the church Sunday. Like I so excited. Just to
Damn,
be in the
I'm not
atmosphere
gonna lie, yeah,
once
same that,
again.
yeah. I
Yeah.
really liked it.
What
that
about
says
Yeah.
a
it
lot.
did you like?
Here does not
What about it did you like?
Okay, so firstly the beat was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But like when you listen to the actual lyrics, like there's some lyrics, at first you're talking about the fact that you're worshiping and you don't
Mm.
care, it's plus sweaty, but still. And then at the end, it's talking about like the fact that the church, well, not the church, but
Mm.
there can be weak sermons, and sometimes like the focus is on like a lot of people being there, but not conversions,
Right,
and
right, right.
which is some deep stuff. That's deep. That's crazy. That's wow, phenomenal. So yeah, what do you guys think?
Well, I love it. Like you and Glenn are saying, the energy is on point. I am a high energy type person, so the beat and everything that definitely gets me. And the video itself is really cool. Like, props to
It
whoever did
was
that
Yeah.
because that's a pretty cool lyric
pretty
video.
cool.
And I love the lyrics. Yeah, I love the lyrics too, because it really gets to the heart of the matter. And like Glenn said, it makes you pumped up for church because it really highlights a lot of the things that go into being at physical church that are really
Hmm.
cool. Like from the organs, to hearing the person's voices, and just the environment and all that. And I do love the fact that they emphasize authenticity, whether that is you as a member or the church
Hmm.
organization as well, being authentic. So it's a really cool song.
For sure.
Yeah. Glenn, you have anything to add? Or
Man, well, I love the lyrics. I love the lyrics, man. I am a huge CHH fan, Christian hip hop fan, and I love listening to KB and Liquor because their lyrics are always so profound and on point, right? So yeah, big ups to them. And yeah, as I just want to reinforce everything you guys said. Like, yeah,
yep. Fantastic. Okay, and we hope you guys watching liked it as well. If you liked it, you can send us some thumbs up or
for sure.
some flames and some hearts. Ooh, flames in the chat. Okay. Okay, so next we have Judah who will be giving us our challenge. Judah, what is the challenge for the week?
Okay, so this ties in really nicely, and I hope that you guys did the challenge from last week. This week's challenge is a pretty straightforward one, which is let's all go back to church. Yes. And it's really about, getting back out there. Yes, we had a long lockdown. Most of us would have had,
Oh
some
man,
kind of virtual engagement in terms of online church or online youth group sessions and what's not, which have been good to keep everyone, connected. But this week, since the restrictions have been lessened even more, we're celebrating that. So we're encouraging you, as long as you can, as long as your church is open, don't be afraid. As Jamaicans would say, don't afraid, man. Let's go back to church. Let's get back out there. Let's see the people we haven't seen since February, March. I mean, we still have to use wisdom and use the precautions and the protocols and what's not. But at least we get to go. So let's seize that opportunity. Let us not take it for granted, and let's all go back to physical church.
right, right, right. Thank you, Judah, for that tip. And guys, let us know what church you from, what youth group you coming from. Just hail them there in the comments and let us know. For sure, I'm from Harvest Bible Chapel. Yep.
Sanctuary. Woo, woo,
What about
woo.
you, Sharon?
I am from People's Cathedral.
Aye.
Woo, woo,
Right,
woo.
right. Good.
Yep, fantastic. Well, thank you for that challenge, Judah. Thank you so much for letting us know. Okay, I want to go back in a plastic bag because
Wow. Okay.
I mean the church is really loving. You do get tons of hugs and tons of affection, which is good. But yes, protocols should still, be in
Yeah.
place. Okay, so
Definitely.
we're now going to go to the tip of the week, which
Woohoo.
is kind of like an extension from the challenge. So stay tuned.
This is the tip of the week. Did you guys hear? Barbados is now COVID free. You know what that means? We are back in church. Yes, we are back praising God, being surrounded by our brothers and sisters in Christ. For a while, we would have been live streaming content, but we finally get to see those people that we would have missed oh so dearly. And it's more than worshiping with each other, but you may be wanting to do more and get more involved at church. Well, here are some fun ways that you can do so now that we are back in action. Help out at Sunday school. Train a child in the way that they should go, and they will learn to love God, to respect God, and to abide by His word. You can help out as a hostess. As a hostess, you are the first person that people come into contact with when they come to church. So let them know that they're welcomed. And it's more than just finding an empty seat, but it's showing the joy of the Lord that resides in you. You're representing Him. Show His love and extend that love to those who are coming in. Interested in music? Have a talent? Have an amazing voice? You can share your talents to bless others in the church and worship God. Or maybe you're a technical person. You can help out with the church's sound system, help with the mics, help with the lights, and even help to record the services. Or you might just have a brilliant idea. After experiencing COVID, you may see how your church can implement some new strategies and some new things to reach out to other people and to be more impactful. So share that. The church is always looking for new ways to spread the good news to others. And most of all, pray. Pray for your church leaders. Pray for your church members. And pray for your community. That's the best thing you can do for them. And ensure that they're still shining their light. So as we embrace those free hugs that we get every Sunday, let's rejoice as the community is now back together, praising the name of the Lord.
Okay, guys, just here laughing at some of the comments. But yes, that was the tip. And I see people saying where they are from. I'm saying River Road, New Testament, Fireworks, you.
Shout
We
out
have.
to you guys.
Yep, shout out.
Nice.
Shout out to you guys. And yes, a hostess is like a frontline worker.
It's true.
Definitely. Are we hugging at Judah? Are we hugging at church?
Yeah,
Certainly.
Hopefully soon we can go back to actually hugging at church, but that tip runs, true for now and in the future and whatever time that we, get to engage and regain our activity in our church setting.
Definitely. Okay, so now we are going to go into the Wuhz de Vibe, and we would have been asking people questions, and this question for this week is, how will COVID impact the church going forward? So stay tuned for that. How will COVID impact the church going forward?
Hear the voice of the youth, standing up for the truth. Hear it loud, hear it strong, and we not turn it down. Hear the voice of the youth, standing up for the truth.
There are going to be two types of people. There are going to be the people that really enjoyed waking up 5 minutes before service and then just going on their phone and watching service. But there's also going to be the group of people who really struggle to connect because everything was digital. I think what that means for us is that we're going to have a mix. So we're going to have people coming in 5-10 minutes late for service now because they're not accustomed to waking up early anymore. And there's also going to be the group of people who are going to be so excited and just so grateful to be back in the house of God. The one thing though, I'm not going to lie, it's a bit awkward having to wear the mask and be singing and that kind of thing. But besides that, I think we're all very, very happy.
Hi everyone. So I believe that during this COVID period, a lot of persons would have turned to the church for spiritual truths and for answers. And therefore we would have had a wide engagement of young people during the past few months. What we might see now is an increase in the number of persons who visit churches that they would have seen online, interested in what they would have said. So we may see a wider populace in the next few weeks. However, we must balance both the virtual and the physical in the upcoming months because young people have to feel like if the church belongs to them and that they are able to participate. And I think we must balance the two going forward in moderation.
I believe COVID-19 can continue to impact the church positively in that one, we may see this virtual means of connecting as a temporary thing, but we can continue to use those to open up pathways of finding new and creative and interesting ways to connect with the congregation or perhaps the youth group. So while still having the in-person ways of connecting, continue to use the virtual means to maybe have a midweek service because you can't always get people to come together. Even when there isn't COVID-19 around to worry about. But you can definitely use these virtual means more and then have, more resources available when it comes to connecting with people in the church.
Hi, my name is Rihanna, and during COVID, I've learned about fellowship and how important it is in the body of Christ, and also involving the community and getting out of the church and really into the community and involving them certain activities like entrepreneurship and sports and music, and to really build up on those programs and also encourage youth in evangelizing in ministry so that more can be done. I feel like we have not been doing enough in terms of getting out into the community and really bringing people to Christ, and that is what our real mission is as Christians, to go and tell others about Christ and the kingdom of God.
I believe that there will be both positive and negative implications of COVID on the church. On the one hand, this situation has definitely reminded us that we are the church and that our God is not confined to buildings. Additionally, this current need to connect with one another on virtual platforms may have opened doors for inclusivity and encourage both believers and non-believers to attend a service. However, I do wonder if the current reliance on virtual media platforms will extend past the necessary time of social distancing and then damage our need for face-to-face interaction. So hopefully this current state of social isolation will lead to a desire for greater community when it's safe to do so.
You are watching Locked and Loaded on Echo Nation.
Right. Wow.
All right,
So
great.
we have some. What?
Sorry, the camera was on mute this time. Yeah.
Good job, man. Good job.
Yeah.
Yep. So we heard some great responses from the youth. Two of the individuals are actually living in Canada right now. So they're not released from lockdown. They're still in lockdown, still having to go to online church. But yeah, what do you guys think about those responses?
Yeah, I really liked Andrea. That's how we pronounce her name, right? Andrea. Her response when she was saying we are not, we are the church and God is not confined to buildings.
Right.
And that is something that I really want to elaborate on further down in the discussion. But I really love that point, and everything else that everyone has said, they've made valid points. Everything they said is true. And I want to thank everyone for sending in those Wuhz de Vibe videos.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, we have the same thing. That's
Twins.
crazy. But I agree. I think all of them, it's so crazy because every week we have these well versed responses that kind of tackle multiple angles of the same issue, and it goes to show that COVID-19 affecting us is no different. Like there are many different angles to look at this from many different ways that it has impacted and will continue to impact church gatherings, youth gatherings, and so on. I really appreciate what they said, and I definitely agree that we have to use what we have. But again, we will
Mm.
get into that when we get into the DM. But yeah, what I said is definitely true all around, all across the board.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree. I just am taking everything that you guys said and spewing it back. I agree with everything that Glenn and Judah said. Those were very good responses, and I feel like a lot of people are definitely understanding, especially know how important it is to, have things being technological,
Right.
reaching people. But as you guys said, we will get into that as we get into the discussion. Before we get there, though, I'm seeing some more people saying who they're representing, where they're coming
Okay.
from. Whoop,
Nice,
whoop.
nice.
I would have seen Cornerstone Wesleyan, Impact
Southern
Youth.
Stone.
Yep, Althea
You
Wharton.
said
We have Emily from Cornerstone Wesleyan Youth Explosion. Woot woot.
nice.
Yep.
Very nice.
So thank you guys for coming, representing, and engaging in the show tonight because we are talking about some interesting stuff. So now it's time to get into the DM. Not Glenn's DM, not Judah's DMs, Equinacious DMs, but the discussion moment. We're going to start discussing has church before COVID been cancelled?
Dun
Hmm.
dun dun.
Done, done, done.
Interesting.
So we would have been last week. We spoke about a survey that we conducted, and I want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you who's watching, who would have participated in that survey and would have sent it to other people. We got some amazing responses and a
Yeah.
whole bunch of them. Yeah. So we're going to discuss them now, and
It's trying to explain himself.
I know.
Nice
Got that
story.
He's
smile.
trying
Very,
so
very.
hard. So hard. He's so fussy.
Good night.
But yes. So we're gonna discuss them, and I'm going to invite the one and only Arnold Gozzy Goslin to talk with us. Woot woot. Gozzy,
Good night, everybody. Good night,
Good night.
everybody.
Good
good
night.
night.
Wait. When I realized Gauzy got cut,
This is a
I
miracle.
didn't realize Gauzy
COVID
got cut.
is really COVID. Super cute. What
Oh.
is
Wow.
Listen, people, I gotta tell you a true story. True story. When I came home from the barber, right? My wife met me at the door, and for literally, I'm getting a look.
Don't exaggerate. Don't exaggerate.
I know I get exaggerate. I'm not exaggerating. When I came through the door, my wife met me at the door, right? And for literally 3 minutes, 3 minutes, the woman cried, hugged me, and keep on kissing me. It's like I
The
went to war
consistency.
and come back home alive.
There.
Natasha represent for real. Wait, some boy calling me a paro. No, she said stand up. My mom used to tell me that I look like 63 when I was not getting used to the gay, but I don't know. I submit to the wife. I don't know. And anyhow, it's a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to be here on Locked and Loaded with these magnificent people, Sharon, Glenn, and Judah. And I'm very looking forward to the discussion tonight. In terms of these survey responses, we got a lot of interesting survey responses from our many of you who joined us and many of you who shared the survey. So I'm looking forward to that.
Fantastic. We're looking forward to talking about it too.
Yep.
So, we're gonna go straight into it. We're gonna go into those results. Yeah. So here we have 66 responses. Wow. Once again, thank you so much. So much.
Shout
Shout outs. Yeah. So as you can see, we mostly had responses from people who were from 17 to 35. The majority of the people. We did have some other people responding. But yeah, those are the age ranges.
Yeah. So, Gazi, you want to take us through some of these responses here?
Yeah. Well, the main thing is that we're looking at the demographic that we had, and as Sharon said, most of the people who responded were between the ages of
Yeah.
17 and what's the other one right here?
35.
35, 17 and
Yeah.
35. So a lot of
35.
young adults responded, which is very interesting.
right?
We had a couple who were between the 10 to 12 age group, and a couple who were actually over the age group. And we even had some people over 45 responding. So that's good, that there are people who are outside of the youth era who had something to
Mm.
say about this.
Right.
Right.
Um, Most of the people who responded actually go to church or go to a youth group. I don't think we had anybody who said no.
Mm.
And did you physically attend church or youth group before COVID-19? Most people did, multiple times a week, and then once a week. So we had regulars, many people who would go. Few said seldom, only one said seldom, and some said occasionally. So what we have is a group of young people who would regularly attend church before COVID. All right, and I
Right.
think that is good in terms of the audience and what they will have to say, because we're not talking to people who are foreign to the culture. If they say they go at least once a week or multiple times a week, that's the greatest audience. It means that they understand the culture. They're engaged in what is happening. Now we're going to get into some more meat. What do you miss most about physical church or youth group sessions? What do you guys miss most before we go to these answers?
The people and the live worship in person. That's my response.
Yeah.
People and
And
like worship.
Yeah,
What about
live
you,
I
worship.
second that. I second that for sure. Engaging with people and that worship experience is completely different. It's
Yeah.
completely different. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't just listen to the worship music on my TV. You know, I had to go and get my speakers with the bass and everything so I could hear everything
Nice.
and all that. You
Nice.
know, so I had to amplify everything. So yeah, I can't really get mad
Wow.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
Same thing for
same.
you, Sharon?
Yeah, mine is the music and the atmosphere, just like everybody worshiping, everyone, praising God, seeing that community. Yeah, we have Dominique saying live worship. Live worship is a real thing. Like, yeah.
We're gonna say good night to Bishop Selwyn Braffett. Good night to you, sir.
Good
Glad to
Good
night.
have you
night.
on. People said interacting with friends.
Nice.
Kivona, that's her. Okay. All right.
Yep.
So for me, I honestly miss the worship experience, and especially connecting with like family and friends, especially young
Mhm.
people. I have a passion for young people, and we would usually meet at least once a month at our home and do some stuff. So I miss
Mhm.
that fellowship and stuff. So let's see what everyone said in the responses. So most
Right.
people said meeting people and physical connections. 52
Mhm.
people said that. And then it was followed by the worship. So I guess what we said aligns with what most people said. Then some people said they missed the atmosphere. And then after that, it was the discussions, the sermons and teachings, and corporate prayer and Bible study. That's great. Now, six
Yeah.
people said, I don't miss anything. All right, but that was a small segment. And there are some who said, I miss everything.
Good there.
Two people said, I miss everything. So I think what this is saying is really people miss that engagement. Young people
Mhm.
especially miss that engagement and worship. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add to that.
Well, I would have liked to know why these six people didn't miss anything at all. If there was some kind of elaboration that happened that came after that. But yeah, yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So have your local church or youth group been streaming their sessions or services online during the lockdown? And as you can see, most people said yes. There's only 6% that said no. And they have most people said yes, I have been attending. Some seldom attended, and some people said yes, but I never attended. Right? So it means that from coming out of the whole COVID era, a lot of the persons who the churches who were streaming their services are youth groups who were actually having their youth sessions. Most persons were involved with that and attending those sessions. So that is very interesting because a lot of people think that because physical church is over, nobody, all the young people can say, "Well, I down with church altogether."
Right.
But is that what the data is showing?
No, and I think that that's really awesome because it shows that, we still want church. We still want to be there. We still want to connect on some level, even though, it's definitely not the same as in person. We, the young people, we still want to be at church. We still want to engage. We still want to learn and stuff like that, which is fantastic.
Right. And to me, that's why I have a problem with that 6% that was there that like didn't stream or anything. Because it's like, why not? Why? I mean, it's not that hard. So, what were the difficulties that you encountered that you could not have streamed? I ain't calling out nobody because they don't know who didn't stream from who did stream. But I mean, like, nah, come on. We should be using every tool necessary to ensure that we spread the gospel. We can't really hold back. There's so many mediums we could use to ensure that we spread the gospel. It's something we should be doing and to keep your church engaged. So
Yeah,
yeah,
stay connected.
All right, so the next question that we have, which was probably one of the more meatier questions, was choose the words that best describe these online sessions, right? And persons could choose more than one.
mm,
And the options that you had were engaging, relatable, good quality, interactive, relevant, boring, poor quality, informative, inspiring, it was not relatable, convenient, didn't have any, and other people had a chance to add. What do you guys think? Um, Usually projection, like how the traditional projection. Do you think that people thought that these online sessions were not relevant, boring, uninformative? What you guys thought? How we thought people would have responded?
Honestly,
I feel like it depends on the person and it depends on your
yeah,
perception of what church is and what you expect to get from an online service. Especially,
that's true.
like the fact that somebody could be on their phone but their attention is not being paid to the service. So then it may be an informative service. Because you're not paying attention, you might not be able to
Mm-hmm.
get that information.
yeah,
So I honestly think it you could show somebody one sermon, one service, and have so many different responses just because of the actual individuals. So I don't know. I can't say. Judah Glenn, what y'all think? What are your
yeah. I
projections?
agree with you, Sharon, because it's like you gotta remember too. If that person really doesn't pay attention at church, physical church too, then what yours are them
But we said most of the people said they attend church regularly.
church
Okay, and my
regularly.
mother's
And
That
take me to
doesn't mean
church.
that then you gotta ask why they attend church regularly.
Exactly. Suppose their
but
parents are
here's the
taking
thing.
them to church.
But
You
here's the
speak.
thing. As we
Mm,
said in the age group, this is something that you have to keep in mind. The age group was 17 to 35 was the most
Fair.
responses. So
mm,
most of these
Yeah.
are mostly young adults, people who,
right.
and like the parents may force them to go. More
Okay.
than likely, they are willingly going.
Hmm.
So the question is
Right.
actually, if
True.
I'm not forced to go, it'll be interesting to see because I think a lot of churches probably weren't some. There were some churches that probably were doing um, streaming their services. We know there were churches that did that, but what about the churches that didn't do that, right? So let's see what the responses were, and I think um, I don't know if y'all will be shocked or not, but I was really excited with these responses. All right, so most persons thought that online church was relevant. They also thought that it was interactive, relatable, and engaging. It was informative and inspiring, right? So almost half the people thought that online church was relevant, interactive, engaging, and inspiring and relatable. So it meant to them that it was speaking to them. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like, man, you just having a service. And the good thing about this survey was that you didn't have to submit your name or email address or anything like that. So we're assuming that people weren't just being kind for kind's sake. They were telling the
Right.
truth.
Honest.
So yeah, someone was saying
I think
y'all wanted to say
it.
something.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think it's very interesting. I'm honestly very happy about it because it shows that at least the majority, at least half, as you're saying, of the persons that responded, that we're actually interested, that we want to be there because, as Sharon is saying, if we don't, then that we might not even tune in to the service to begin with, first of all. But even if we do, we might not have the same views. I think it's really good that we have this kind of feedback coming out from the majority of young people, and it shows that at least some of our churches, and I know we can't speak for everyone, so at least some of our churches, did put in that effort to continue to, feed their people and stay engaged with their young people, especially, which is a task because not everything is just going to catch us just because you put it out there.
All right.
Yep. One thing I find interesting is the fact that they called it interactive. And there were a lot of people that were saying that it couldn't be interactive. Yet we have 47%, 48%, almost 50% saying that it was interactive.
Right.
Well,
They're
that's the
different.
thing because it depends on the type of platform that you use and how persons engage the platform. So if we
Right.
had young people who were saying that they attended their youth groups and their youth groups were interactive, relatable, and so on, we would get that from here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what the survey failed to do was to distinguish between what was a youth group
And
session or what was
church.
a church session,
Right.
right? But we do have a couple people. Nisha is saying that my church didn't stream, so I went church hopping.
Mm.
Yeah. I feel like
I
a
have
lot
the
of
same
people did
situation
that.
Yep.
where my church didn't stream also. And Amanda's asking, all on the 40s, 50s, or 60s. I wonder what the older folks were feeling about that. Well, I guess
Hmm.
she's asking,
Very
is church
interesting.
engaging? Is Amanda trying to insinuate that there's a generation gap and that the online services only spoke to the younger generation? I don't know. You could verify. Don't understand. I think that depends on the church. Some people resorted to having more discussion-based church service. Now, this is
True.
something that
Very true.
Hmm.
I want to ask you guys, and especially the guys on the chat. Is that the situation that the younger generation asking for more discussion-based services and sessions where they get to be involved in asking questions? What's your thoughts?
Right.
I
Well,
think
I believe that is something that should be done. I mean, it may not have to be every single service, because our young people. I remember I was talking to even some of my friends, and they have always questioned like why isn't there really an interactive church session, other than a youth group, right? So it's not just the pastor or whoever preaching to you, but you actually challenging certain things or asking certain questions that other people may want answered as well in that service, other than people having to wait and go home and read when they might not really look to follow up on what happened in service. So it could be extremely beneficial to have a discussion based service. I have experienced it a couple times actually, and it was very good. It was a refreshing change. Yeah, I feel it's something that should be done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say too that that has been something that we've wanted for a while as young people, even as teenagers. This is a
Mm,
thing that it gives the younger persons the space to
right.
verbalize their issues in terms of understanding certain concepts in the Bible and stuff like that. And it also helps to build that relationship. I think discussion is a better teacher per se than just dictation, if you can put it that way,
Mm,
but I think they have to go hand in hand. So, and I also
mhm,
think too that it depends on the church, because some churches already do have that. And
mm,
what COVID has definitely done is allowed us the same way we can go church hopping, or becoming or taking part in another church's service online, we can learn from each other. Our churches can learn from each other in terms
right.
of strategies to use, tools to use, what's a good idea, what might be good for your local assembly that you may not have thought of, that somebody else has implemented somewhere else. All these things have come out, and I think that that is really good, because COVID, to me, it has showed us ourselves. It showed us where we have been lacking. It showed us where we're good and what we need to maintain, and then how we can transcend what we already had into using technology to boost, our engagement and our ability and capacity to reach people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I actually have a friend who attends, um, I don't know if to call it a church or if it's like a group of churches, but what they do is that they would have the church session. So you have the session for, I don't know how long. Let's just say 45 minutes or 30 minutes. And then everyone breaks into these groups. So in your
7
group,
groups.
yeah,
Mm.
then this
Mm,
is all on Zoom, right? So you're in your group, and then is where you get to discuss, you get to ask questions. Because I could understand, like, people may say, okay, discussion based church service might not be appropriate for a group of 400 people, right? But then this is a way that that's been,
yeah.
dealt with and handled, where you can have the teaching and then still have the discussion, talking about it. And I thought it was really good. I went to one, and I mean, yeah. Okay,
So Maria, yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
right. I was just gonna read it. Says, isn't Bible study supposed to be the discussion based service that we learn from?
Right.
Yeah.
It is. I think it is.
It is. That's what we have our small groups and our cell groups in various
Yeah.
churches. So
Mm-hmm.
But
as
Ivana is asking, but do people want it on Sunday as well? What is stopping us from having a discussion-based service on Sunday mornings? What's the
Time?
challenge with that?
First of all, yes.
Yeah, like
That
time. If you have 10 people, sorry, if you have, let's say 400 people in the congregation and half of them have questions, you might not be able to touch everyone. It might end up being like, uh, like this, you get people like coming against each other and stuff like that, and that may be something that they may not want. So that could be something. I see Amanda's. Okay. I'll
Let
just
me,
go
let me
back
go back.
to. Right, yeah, sorry. Interactive online church is a new skill set for some. Not all leaders can get it done, and some people only know how to talk and not to engage an audience online. Yeah,
true.
like I can see that. I can see that. Yeah.
I think also we cannot generalize, or let's be careful not to generalize, understanding that every church has different parameters. Like we're saying, the size is a factor as well, the time is a factor, and in terms of Sunday service
Mhm.
versus for example, Wednesday or Tuesday service, Sunday already has a different type of structure. So I mean, we could, because by all means shake up the order if you want to, if that's where God is leading you as a leader of your church, by all means go ahead. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, we have a different structure, which is an interesting thing to say since we're talking about church culture and what's not. We do have that different structure generally for Sunday services. Wednesdays or Tuesdays might be a more relaxed environment where you come, you do worship, you do engage, but you are probably better able to sit down and have that conversation in whatever format that you do, which would, promote that discussion. But again, it's up to how your church does things.
Yep.
All right. So Maria is saying we have ministered at a lot of Sunday morning services where we have had the discussion style delivery. It depends on the leader and their vision. And actually, one of the things that have been coming out, even from my interaction, and this came out from talking to unsaved people, and one of the reasons why they prefer not to go to Sunday morning service is that they have the challenge of going and listening to one person say something, and they may have questions and don't have the ability to ask a question, or you may be chastised for asking certain questions that you may be battling with,
Yeah.
right? And so I think what we've seen based on the whole discussion thing is that, because we did see earlier that a lot of people said they missed discussion, so I guess their churches have those type of discussion activities. But
Yeah.
I think we have to look at that. And if I consider one of the most impactful evangelistic movements overseas right now, is the apologetics movement with Ravi Zacharias. I know he passed away, he unfortunately passed away earlier this year, but their main evangelism ground was universities. So they were predominantly hitting young adults and being able to having the opportunity for them to ask the tough questions and be able to answer it. I think sometimes, I don't know, this is just something that might be thrown out. Do we have enough teaching that we could be open to defend or answer some of the questions that people may ask? Are we afraid to answer the hard questions? So I don't know. Is a I don't know how we can handle that. It depends on the church. It depends on the leader. It depends on the vision.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
does.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's continue. So the next question had to deal with persons who how many attended online church, but or youth group, but at another church. Now, this is going to be interesting because we just said that most people found the stuff engaging and so on. But the question is asked, is it more their regular church, their local church that they found engaging, or was it another church search session? I may want to ask you guys this question. Did you attend other church services or other youth sessions during the time?
I did.
Yeah, I did.
Judah, Judah, you look
Fortunately,
uncomfortable.
I'm
yeah,
totally
I did
fine.
not a lot though, but
Mm-hmm.
because my church starts at 10, I was able to watch a couple sermons from early in the morning, like from 8 or from 9. So I was still able to attend basically another church. But, yeah.
That's the same for you, Sharon?
No. Um,
Okay.
for me, I would say that I watched many churches. Like I
Okay.
took the opportunity just to see what other churches were like. Also the fact that I don't, for any of you that don't know, like I don't live in Barbados. I am studying overseas. So even while I was overseas, I was accustomed to watching online services. There would be times that I would watch my church in Barbados. I would watch them online in Canada. So I watching church online wasn't like a new thing for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so now that there were more churches that were online, I took the opportunity, just to see see certain churches. It wouldn't be a case where my church was at 10, so I watched the service at 8 or 9. But I would take advantage of the fact, like, okay, if I wanted to attend a 7:30 service, but I didn't wake up for 7:30, and there's one starting at 8, then I could watch that one, or one starting at 9. So I did like watch more than one church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Generally speaking, I didn't, and I don't think that is problematic because we are all the church. Every assembly comprises the church, the body of Christ. But first of all, y'all waking up real early on a Sunday, so shout outs to y'all. This is our day. I was not waking up that early. Let me just be honest. So I woke up in time for my service, and I would have, been attending there. But I did tap into one international church this last Sunday because I follow them on YouTube. So the notification came up and I just tapped it. But you guys are talking, what you just mentioned speaks a lot about convenience. My only concern with that is, us not necessarily getting lost in everything or everybody's service, and also not becoming detached from our local assembly because we have so many options. I feel like that's the thing that we should consider, even though it's perfectly fine to watch as many services as any of us want to.
All right, Dom has a question here that I think was referencing what we discussed before in terms of the
Mhm.
discussion-based services. She's saying, "Who are we serving? Who are we supposed to reach?" They have lots of questions, and I think that is something that's a question that people may have to ask. At the end of the day, if the church is utilizing does the tools and the methods that the church utilize tell you who the church is serving and who the church wants to reach? And that might be a telltale sign. So if the church is not going into certain areas, if it's not going into the community, if it's not going in certain places, if it's not utilizing certain tools, is that a sign that the church is not willing to serve those people and they're not necessarily focused on reaching them? Do you see that as a case from a young person's standpoint? Or you don't think that's
I
too
think it
much?
could be a case where church leaders are just afraid of change and don't think that they should come down from where they are to get people. I think that could be their mindset. So it's like, like they may think that this is what church is, and
Right.
young people just want to mess up things. They just want, but like this is it. That could be the place that some people are coming from, because I know, well, not that I know, but I have heard of, not relating to this, but relating to the fact that, there are some older persons who, when they see change, they just, it's like, no, like that can't happen. And it's not necessarily that it's a problem, but it's that it's not what they are accustomed to. So I think that's definitely something that needs to be addressed. And going back to the tip would have spoken about, getting yourself involved in church and being involved in church. One of the things that was thought about was like sharing your ideas. So not only can you share ideas of how you can reach people, but also involve yourself so that you can become a church leader, so that you can impact others and be kind of like that bridge from between like the youth and the older folk, to let them know like this is how things are right now. And just making adjustments is not like changing the gospel or anything like that. It's just ensuring that we can speak their language, which is not a bad language, which is not a sinful language, but is rather a different language.
Great.
And a new one. I agree
Yeah.
with that.
All right.
Yeah, and Sharon, as you said, when it comes to leaders being afraid of change and don't want to dabble in these things, to be honest, I think that we need to push past tradition and not wanting to move forward and change certain things, and being timid or whatever. Because I mean, at the end of the day, we must realize we are here to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's
Yeah.
not about our comfort. While we do so, it is not about all these other things that we want to keep in place, just for our well-being or what we think is right. We here to preach the gospel in whatever form or fashion, as make sure we're doing so in a righteous way. Like
Mm-hmm.
use whatever tool necessary to preach the gospel, because that is your mission. Your mission is to disciple other people to do the same thing. So it really does not
Right.
matter if you are not comfortable with going live on Facebook or going live on YouTube. I mean, you can come up with so many excuses, but sorry, but that is not. It is not. It is not. It is just not acceptable. Like you should be using. If you are a leader, a church leader, you should be using everything necessary to make sure you spread the gospel of Christ.
I definitely agree. And I think,
Agreed.
as I
Yeah.
was saying before, that this whole experience has showed us ourselves and showed us
Mhm.
what we have been lacking. And we need to pay attention and take notes and then make plans to make things different. So
Mhm.
Adarian is saying some big churches like Elevation and the Church use this strategy of having discussions based on a sermon or certain topics relevant to society weekly. Discussions are very critical for discipleship, which is something that you just mentioned there, Glenn. I think this is interesting because Elevation is very popular and more than within their local context because there are many young people that watch Elevation church services among other, among other US based churches, and they find it very attractive and very interesting and very engaging and very on point and all these things, and that's why they would continue to tune into those services, and that's a key thing because perhaps we can learn from them, just sliding that in
Yeah.
there. But generally speaking, discipleship takes more than just sharing a word. As Glenn is saying, we're here to preach the gospel. We are. But Jesus also said to make disciples. You teach them and you
Yep.
make disciples so that they pass on and everyone grows and the reach goes further out. And that is a more intentional process where we have to be more deliberate in how we use our tools now. Because just talking from a platform is never going to be enough. We need to engage our people. We need to see where their minds are at, find out how we can translate what God is saying to them and how we can empower them to then take that message further and also change their lives and impact the lives of everyone around them. That is the bottom line and one of the basics of discipleship, which is more than just hearing a message. So we have to be on point. Our leaders have to be on point. We have to take that responsibility, as Sharon is saying too, to get involved so that we can help guide. Because as Paul said to Timothy, we have to set an example. We can't just be ashamed of our youth or feel like we're less than because we are younger or have fewer years on this earth. We have a very valid voice and we are closer to the cutting edge than the older generation is because it's happening as we are coming along. So it is our role as well to be there, be up there with the leaders, guiding them, teach them how to use the platforms. Let's work together then to ensure that we continue to be engaged and we are also a part of the mission that is driving that engagement for the people that we want to reach.
All right. Jaleesa is saying change is needed to move forward. The bandage of tradition is restricting. What is your mission? What is your godly purpose? 2020 has shown how much 2020 vision we have. All
Or not.
right. And
Agree 100.
Yeah.
Dom is saying bars. All right. So taking a look at the responses, have you attended church online? I think most persons attended regularly or occasionally. So if over 50% of the persons who responded said they attended regularly or occasionally. And what is interesting about this, like I said, is does this basically mean that the most of the engaging stuff that persons commented about earlier was it
Mhm.
in response to the lyrical church, or was it in response to the other church service that they would have joined? So I'm asking that because then the question is, and anyone, if the persons who are on the feed could answer this, do you think that that churches locally will lose um, members, young people, members to a online church based on the fact of the type of relational, relevant, and engaging services that they provide? What you guys think?
Go ahead, try.
Um, I, whew, I really don't know. Like, I can't say. I don't. I feel like everybody. It's possible, but then there are people who might be craving that like experience again, like what, like from before. They may not necessarily. I don't. You can see both happening. I can see people attending online services and going to church. I feel like that is an option.
What happened?
Yes.
I don't know. That was the end. That was the full stop.
Oh,
Oh, you.
That's
I was
that's a
stop.
very small full stop.
Oh, sorry.
But
But
I do agree. I think the convenience of the the online church gives you the opportunity to go to church when you feel it. So
yeah,
there's some people that can go to church and watch it live, or you can watch it afterwards. But the question is the lure of the online church greater than the lure of actually physically attending church? Especially if you think that your physical local church attendance is not engaging, is not relevant, is not informative, is not relatable.
mm.
and that's why I
What
say
do you
both
think?
because and this is for everybody watching too. Let us know what you think. But
Definitely.
I think that in terms of the convenience, as you would have said, the convenience, the fact that people want to experience something different, the fact that these US churches have strong holds, you can watch that. But there will be some people that maybe if they're seeing a worship session, but they can't really, they feel like they're not really there, so they go to a church that might be like that, or like they may want to be with people who are of the same mindsets that they have, right? And they can't necessarily be with a person when they're watching a service. So I feel like if there are people who are craving that community aspect and that worship aspect, then they may go to church when they feel like they're lacking that. But if they don't feel that way, if that's not happening, then it could be as simple as tuning into something online. It may not even be live. So the person might be watching it Tuesday night, half Tuesday night, and the next half Thursday morning. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Emily is saying
Personally,
sitting at home is easier, and if you are getting a better sermon than someone might say, why leave my house? So if I get a better
yeah.
sermon at home and it's more convenient to me, she's asking the question, why should I leave my house? What will you say to that, Glenn Judah?
Do they want to
Well,
take
to
that?
respond to the
Mm.
yeah, no problem. To respond to the first question, I think that we local churches could lose people, could lose their young people, especially or specifically if those persons do not already feel connected to their local assembly, if they do not feel engaged by their local assembly,
Mm-hmm.
which leads into what Emily is saying. Because if the better thing now comes in, if you are comparing what you receive from your local assembly to what you are quote unquote receiving through the screen watching these other services. And I mean, we have to just call a spade a spade. A lot of the times, the online specifically, the US church services are really engaging. They have all the lights, they have all the instruments, they have the cool outfits, and they have the
Mm-hmm.
young people with great teams, and it feels more relatable. First of all, just by looking. So that's already a level of intrigue that we may not necessarily see every Sunday in our own local assemblies. But the case is though that if we are generally not connected, that we could be lost, because there are some people that can watch these sessions. Like Crystal said, she tuned into another youth group and it taught her some things for her own, so she already has that connectivity to her church. So it may not be a case where she ups and leaves her church to go to that other one that taught her something, but somebody else might not feel connected. Somebody else might say, well, the grass looks greener on the other side, so let me pick up and move. Let me stop going to mine. Let me only tune into X church or Y church and call that church.
All right, Dom is saying this. I think there's an undeniable value in having a local church and a pastor you know personally or can interact with on a personal level. Katrina is saying the music and the prayers and worship, that vibe hits different when you are in a church. Kivana is saying, Joshua, I am a youth and I prefer physical church. I think online sessions are great, but I prefer to be in a physical church. Someone says maybe because some young people don't connect to churches with a more traditional style as much as they do with a church they might find online. So they think that some young people may move because of that connection. And I think
Right.
one of the things that might come up. I don't know if it usually may happen in bigger churches. Is that as someone said, you may go to church there and no one asks you your name, nor all you are is another person taking up a seat. So
Mhm.
then, if I'm there, I don't have a relationship with anyone in the church. No one is approaching me, and I'm not approaching anyone. Doesn't it make it more convenient for that person to say, "Well, let me connect with this pastor online because at least he's preaching things that are relevant to what I'm going through, and I feel a part of this body." Since in my physical church, I don't even feel like I'm a part of that body.
Yeah, I can see that happening and that definitely being a problem. I just want to read Maria's comment. Am I understanding? Shine said U.S. churches that none of the local live stream services would be a preference over the USA churches, and I think that
Dun,
kind
dun,
of
dun.
if I just like tag what Judah said, Judah would have been talking about the fact that their fancy lights and their fancy outfits, and everyone is singing so beautifully and so well, and just like the presentation, I think that a lot of the churches in a lot of the churches here may not focus as heavily on presentation as US churches do. And I mean, I'm not saying that all of them that all of them don't, because I have seen some nice churches, but if you had to compare it to how like US churches can give like a concert vibe, some of them have like an actual concert vibe in terms of their
Yep.
presentation of everything, you know. Yeah, literally. So
It's
that could be something that draws people in.
Glenn, what do you think
Maria,
about that?
I got a lot of thoughts.
I
I got
want to hear two of them.
um yes, I agree with Sharon. She was saying a lot of churches here don't really focus on the presentation part of the service, and they would get deep into the word, they would be speaking truth and that kind of thing. But because a lot of young people don't really have that relationship with the church, they're
Right.
missing the sound doctrine that you have there, because you're not drawing them in any other way. So I mean, they could just simply go and read their Bibles and that's it. But if you have a church there, you should ensure that you are attracting, especially the young people, to keep them engaged in that kind of stuff. So yes, and you guys are seeing about USA churches might seem pretty with all the lights and the nice outfits and that kind of thing. But it's also important to know the reasons why you want to go to church and the reasons why you want to attend church. You don't really want to attend church for all these superficial reasons and a nice presentation, because you might get a nice presentation and get some serious false doctrine. So that's why it's
True,
True.
important if
true,
you
true, true.
True.
know you have some doctrine, and to also make sure that relationship is there between the members. That's what's important. That relationship is there. You might not have any lights at all. You might not have
Right.
the best sound system and that kind of stuff, but make sure that relationship is there with your church, because I'm sure if once that relationship is there, that even though there's so many other different churches out there that you can watch and you could get good doctrine from as well, you would feel more connected to your church and would be more loyal to your church. Not that you can't get good sermons elsewhere, but you would just have that strong connection there already, and just be loyal to your church, and it would just flow it up. So that's
I
part of my
agree.
thoughts. Yeah.
all right, Joshua is saying In that case, in reference to my comment, I do think the online church is the cause of a loss of a member. That member was lost already. Ooh,
Mm,
Ooh,
mm.
ooh,
Joshua
ooh.
Timber,
Johnson.
All right.
drop
Dom is
timber.
saying it is biblical that some blessings are received by close relationship with a spiritual figure. Example, Paul and Timothy. He called him a son. So we want to catch that anointing. Someone is saying, preach. Give one a preach. All right. So preach, bro.
Exactly.
Preach. All right. So now we're going to the next question in the survey, which had to deal with: do you think you would return physically? When do you think you would return physically to church or your youth group sessions? We had some options that we asked if persons would talk to, would address. So some people said, "I am ready." Oh no. Well, let's look at the responses actually. So most persons said they are ready all know to
Ooh.
return to physical church. Um, some also said the next was when a full all clear is given and social distancing is removed in terms of the government. And then the next was when my parents and guardians say so. And then not sure. Online church or youth group is satisfying to me. So most
Mm.
persons are actually saying, you know what, I'm ready, all no. Others are saying, I'm just waiting for the all clear in order to get back to church. What do you guys think of these responses?
I'm ready all now too. Just
Yep,
saying.
sure. I was ready since March.
Come, it's true.
Ready
um,
since March.
I definitely think this is something that like lends to the whole like relationship with people in the church, because a lot of people are
Right.
craving, that connection with other individuals. But it's
Mhm.
possible that if you did not build those types of connections, and all you are getting from church, from physical church, is exactly what you're getting from online church, that you might not want to go. And I think I remember that Glenn was like, he wants to know why those 6 people don't miss anything. Could it be that
Mm.
those 6 people did not have that relationship with other
Yep,
people around them, didn't feel like they could call the church a family, like their
yep,
family? That is possible. So those people may have said, you know what, like, I am getting the good sermons. It's great. I'm leaving and I feel good. So yeah, I can understand those people that may, not necessarily be already now. But it's really good to see that there are people who are very interested in going back and connecting with their other spiritual brothers and sisters, because that is important and that's the connection that we do not want to lose.
Right.
yeah. So I see Crystal's comment. She said, "Glenn, I agree with you, but we have to remember, if a young person is at a crossroad on which path to choose, we have to show them that Christianity can be fun and you can express your creativity too." I agree with that 100%. Trust and belief. I do lighting. I actually do lighting for my church, so I like that excitement. I like all the lights. I love the nice designs and everything, and I love the low version music. I'm all for that. But I had my own experiences too, I would say. I mean, um, I I visited a couple churches, and I mean, like, I would see things looking nice and that kind of thing, but then when I sit down and listen to what's actually going on, is like, mm, ain't really pulling me, right? So for me, I was more focused on the doctrine
Mm-hmm.
rather than everything looking nice. Like, everything looking nice was just kind of secondary to me. That was like a bonus. And it has a lot to do with the church itself and whether they could afford it in the first place.
Very
That kind of
true.
stuff. So um, it goes back to what that person wants as well. Eh, Yeah.
But Glenn, what if you were not a Christian? You're saying that you're interested in the gospel, but what if I am like,
But that's it.
I am.
But Sharon, hold on, because they're unbelievers who would see these same pretty churches and say all the
No,
influence.
but in that case, you make sure that you're good. You try to be good in both
You
areas.
try to be, but the reality is people get carried away with all everything that's fancy. So then, listen, the unbeliever knows, and a lot of people would know this. The unbeliever does know most of the time, but the Christian should be doing more so than the Christian, right?
Understood.
Yay.
So when the unbeliever watching church or whatever, them listening to see what them could say that this pastor said that ain't true, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I like that's what I see people looking for more so than the pretty stuff. That's just that would have to be something with just your personality or something like that. You just want to see that kind of you always want to feel good out of everything. So
Right.
yeah. But if you're looking for
So,
church, yeah, go ahead, Gozi.
all right. So Kevon is saying because we can have a pretty church, but with a concert vibe, but still no substance. So I think
Exactly.
she's agreeing with you. But
Yeah.
Natasha is saying, I agree with you, but at the same time, you can have a church with all those things and yet have
Yep. You got
substance
both.
too.
You can have
Just
both.
saying. All
I'm
right. Balance
it does
is
happen.
key.
It does happen.
Exactly. That's
Balance.
One of
Balance.
the
You
that's
things,
need
it.
to have that balance. You can't get carried
one of
away.
the
Right.
one of the things I think that the church need to recognize is that the culture and the way how the human brain operates is different. I think if you take the culture and how our brains have developed in the 70s and 80s, and you try to match the methods and what attract people then, and you take those same methods and bring it to today, you're going to miss out on a lot of stuff because we are socialized differently now. If you look back in the 70s and the 80s, the center of attention was probably the church because the church was where you heard people singing, you have music. There wasn't a big setup. There wasn't the internet. There wasn't TV. People wasn't getting entertainment and in the comfort of their home. They had to go out to be entertained. So the church was the place where that talent was in essence developed and you could see it showcased. Today, because the entertainment has come to the comfort of our homes, and right now people are exposed to a different quality of music, a different quality of presentation, even with secular shows, and their minds are getting, let's say, their minds are already having a standard that they're willing to expect. So
Mm.
if let's say I go into a community and that community is accustomed to cavalcades coming and all that sort of stuff, all those type of people coming into the community with good sounding equipment, people that can sing, all that stuff. And what I take is some symbols, feedback with the equipment, people that can sing, and then music that with the language that we can't relate to, trying to reach young folks in the community. The question is asked, are we really serious about who we are trying to reach
Exactly.
and who we're looking to serve?
I like that you raised that because yes, they got some of those instances, and I believe that we should be doing, putting our best in everything and in every
Agree.
aspect when it comes to bringing honor and glory onto God. So don't put people in worship team that can sing. Let the people that believe they can sing, and nobody want to hear. Leave them in the congregation. So because you don't want to scare away anybody. If you want to go and you want to preach the gospel, you want to make sure you do that with the best of the best.
Right.
Right?
All right, so
I
we're
think
going to take in a few more comments
okay.
before we continue because
Mhm.
we are late down the road. Renisha, I think it is saying
Renisha?
Renisha.
A lot of unbelievers don't find church relatable or enjoyable. All right, so that's an interesting comment. Quickly, do you all have that been your experience, guys? Yes or no, quickly. Have a lot of unbelievers that you know said church is not relatable or enjoyable for me?
I
You've
feel
heard
like
it?
they've said, yeah, I've heard it as well, but I'm very skeptical about it because I feel like they don't know exactly. So this may be like an unbeliever who's the last time they went to church was years ago, and yeah, and they didn't go to certain churches. Like they didn't go to church like mine or church that is trying to change or implementing some changes, right? They just go and maybe sing hymns and stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. Everything is just so like, you know, the structure is just so, and it's like, oh,
Rigid.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I do hear it a lot, and I think that because they have that conception of what the church is, that perception of what the church is, then they don't necessarily want to experience something different. Like even if we may tell them, oh yeah, well it changed, and I think that that's why maybe some U.S. churches have gone to the extent of putting it like a concert. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I agree. And what Dom said, well, what she said before she said that, I think is very. I'm trying to find it now. Right. The church on the cutting edge of technology, music, presentation, etc., can be more palatable to the new believer. And I think we need to see new believer in a different way. New believer doesn't only mean somebody that recently came to Christ, but it is somebody that recently came to Christ in the new context of the society that continues to evolve and to change. So we have to continue to evolve and continue to change and adapt so that we can be, as Dom said, more palatable. I mean, that word might be a little touchy for some because we don't want to bend to every new thing that happens. But at the same time, we still have to make sure that we are throwing out a line to a person that is in a certain category. We have to understand that people, because of the age that we live in, these things are what are going to get people more so than just us saying the scripture. So I don't think it's a problem either. And what Crystal said, that someone told her that they may feel like they have to give up their likes and this stuff. We have to break away from that mentality.
I want to respond to that.
Right. Respond quickly, Glenn. Quickly.
So, this saying they want to give up, they'll have to give up your life in that music. No, what they can do is use those things to glorify God.
Amen.
And it will take them to a whole nother level. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
All I would say to you, Glenn, and this is not a question. What if the church is not ready for the lighting and the music? What if the church says we've been doing this in this way?
Is it a specific church that they're looking to go to?
So that's the question you should ask.
So all right, let me know the specific church and if that's the scenario. But I mean, if that's the case, then it's not something that you could push. If you want to use your talents to please God, no one should hold you back from doing that. To be honest, that's what I personally believe.
All right, I just want to address this. Renisha making this comment: from speaking to others, they find a life of Christianity unattainable, and the truth is, it is unattainable in your own self. You need the help of God to live as He requires you to live. But I don't think. The thing is that people get mixed up with traditions and rituals that they see in church and really living a life in the kingdom of God. And we must realize that that is totally different. And if we allow God to work in us, our salvation, work out our salvation, and we don't see it as I have to do it. I just have to submit my life to God and allow Him to change me into His image. I think that'll be great. Someone saying do a motorcade. I don't know about doing a motorcade. We'll see. Explanation motorcade with DJs and all that sort of stuff.
That would be cool.
Would it though?
All right. I just have to say, as a teacher, I understand that I have students before me that learn or are engaged differently. So I have to do as best as I can to cater to suit. Then I don't see why church can't adopt the same approach. And I think the theme that is coming out all the time from comments and so on is that who are we trying to reach? Who are we trying to serve? And I think our focus and our where we put our investment as a church would dictate that. So Renisha said, I grew up in the church, and I used to think that too, but that had to do with my spiritual maturity. So many
Mm.
comments coming in. We're going to take this one last comment before we go back to the survey. When I invited unbelievers to my church, they are always surprised that it is so upbeat because they have the perception that church is boring. And I could say the same thing for some friends of mine who visited a church that, as a group, they went to, and they didn't know that church was so engaging, that the pastor could be so relatable, and that they could actually laugh and all that sort of stuff. They thought that church was this whole rigid thing. You sit down in a straight jacket, you can't relate to nothing. And I think the more we be real and transparent with people, the more they realize that, you know what, that God is real and He is relatable. Because what we project to them is that God ain't relatable, right? So let's go back to the survey. Time gone. We are over an hour and a half on our show. The next question says, do you plan to return to church, to your local church or youth group after COVID? That was the big question. Dun, dun, dun. And the
Dun,
answer
dun,
to that
dun.
question is, most persons said yes. It's relatable, encouraging, and engaging. I plan to go back to church. Over 79% of persons said that. Some said yes because I have to. Maybe if changes are made. 11%, 12% said maybe if changes are made to make it relatable and engaging. No one said it. No, they're not going back because it was boring. And not because they were interested. Some people said only 2%, well, 2 people, 3% said they're not sure. So I think that's a good sign for churches in terms of the young people, that young people are ready and willing to go back into church, and that church is something that's relatable and encouraging and engaging to them. That's the local church. And we asked this question, we asked the question on, do you think your local church or youth group should continue or invest in offering the virtual sessions? So that's something that we're going to be discussing. But I guess based on what you guys have been saying, that is something that should happen. Is that so? Should they continue? Should we continue to have these virtual sessions and streaming online services and so on?
I definitely believe they
Wow.
should.
Hmm. I
Yeah,
think so too. I think they go hand in hand. Not I don't think it should be a replacement. And even in the entire series we've been doing on online relationships and what's not, we can take something from there and apply it to our church discussion right now. It cannot compare as much, to the physical interaction and what's not that happens inside the physical church context. I don't think that online church should replace physical church, but I do think that we can facilitate online sessions in some way, catering to what is needed to supplement what happens on a Sunday or a Wednesday or a Tuesday. I think that we should do in person and find ways to implement the technology, as well as continue to stream online, because not everybody can make it on Sunday. But for those of you who can, remember the challenge this week. We're going back to church. Don't forget that part. But I think they go hand in hand.
Glenn?
Oh, I answered already. No, my answer
Oh,
was very short. Yeah, I believe you should continue doing the live sessions and the engaging
yeah.
stuff online. As well as Judy said, it goes hand in hand, and there should not be replacements. What do you think?
I think, yeah, like, I mean, I feel like everyone that's watching, everyone that would have responded, hopefully would have said that, we should keep these online sessions. And keeping these online sessions does not mean that we are not going back to physical church. And neither,
Right.
as Judah said, like, it can be supplemental. So there will be people that can't make it on Sunday. Sometimes the people that are ill, sometimes things may be happening and they can't leave the house. But should that mean that they don't get the message because they cannot attend church physically? No. So yeah, I think that online church can happen, but then there's the thing of people who may only want to go to online church, and convenience becomes the factor, and it's like they may not be committed or disciplined enough, and they may have a lackluster attitude towards it. And is that something that you guys think could be an issue? And this question is not only to my other hosts, but to the people that are watching in terms of like discipline. Do you think that there's this aspect of laziness that can come up relating to our church attendance?
Well, before you guys answer that, that's actually some of the things that comments that came up. So we're gonna look at the chart and then actually get back to that question. All right.
Okay.
So the church is saying in terms of if it should continue, um, the responses have been that yes,
Mm-hmm.
89, almost 90% of people said yes, they think that the church should continue to invest in offering virtual sessions and so on. And we want to
Mm-hmm.
pull out some of the comments that persons mentioned in terms of the question, because the question asks, please state why you would have said yes, right? And so some of the comments that people had were that it's more efficient for certain sessions. Some people may not have transportation to get to physical church or youth sessions, and hence online sessions are good. Someone said definitely is a good supplement for when you cannot meet or engage physically, as well as an additional way to reach and engage people. And this person actually said, no, please do not continue it because Wi-Fi can't go out. People speak all at once. I guess they're talking about
It just
Zoom. The physical support
Right.
of like-minded people and open doors for true and expressive and discussions is not there. So this person is actually saying, you know what? I don't think we should continue it. And I'll be interested to find out if that person was young or old. But what do you think about those responses so far, guys?
In relation to the last response, I think that that's where preference comes in. Um, so like some people, okay, I'm just reading that by convenience you mean lazy. Yes, but like there are people going back to like what we would have been talking about, people who definitely prefer the physical church,
Right.
and it may be a preference such that it ends up that where they may have like this rigid mindset. And I think going back again to what Judah was saying, it's supplemental. So we're not saying that we're going to get rid of physical church. And I think that that may have been how that person was interpreting that question. But it's like, you know, physical church does serve its purpose in terms of having a community of people together. But in terms of having these services online, I think like goes back to what the other people would have been saying.
Yeah. I also think that it's possible that that person was answering thinking that we meant, as the primary
Mhm.
church.
Right.
I think that's probably possibly where they were coming from, and that may have led to why they felt that way about it. But we do have to acknowledge that technology isn't perfect, and again, it can't. For me personally, virtual church sessions to any degree should not take priority over physical interaction and getting. As Paul said in Hebrews, I think it's 10:25. We have mentioned sometime before. We're not forsaking the gathering together of the brethren. Yes, we can gather virtually, but still there's a deeper level of gathering that happens physically. We can't deny that. So I do think that it should not be the primary thing that we use, even though I also think that we should use it.
Glenn, you
All
have
right, so
anything to add?
Yeah, it shouldn't be the primary. The physical, as Judy was saying, the physical is so important, and nothing can replace that. But I do believe it should still have that online interaction going on. You could always go back and watch what's going on, even if you're streaming your Sunday service. You could always you would have that online, so that's good to have that online presence and keep that online presence there. But in terms of what the person was saying, those little things, I mean, you could work through everybody talking at once and the Wi-Fi connection. Those are things that can be worked through, you know. So once that's done, it is you will see the importance
Mhm.
of having an online presence.
All right. So Sarah is saying this online church that should be lessons, accountability, and it could also be antisocial. But going forward, it may have just place for certain exceptions. And I think you were mentioning that in terms of the convenience sharing, is it a situation where we prefer online church because I could stay from home behind my screen? I don't have to be accountable in terms of the relationship and having someone to ask about me and check up on my walk. And then if I am not a socialite, I don't want to socialize with people. I got a problem with the people up there or people down there or whatever. I can stay home, enjoy my church, and I ain't gotta talk to nobody. I ain't gotta see sister this or brother that. Um, is that the type of culture that online church will breed? What do you guys think?
That's another dun 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 moment. Honestly, I, it's possible, it is possible. And let's not forget that even before COVID, that we do have persons who would just be at home and say that they don't need to go to a physical space because they have that online church. I do think that it could be slightly antisocial, but not only from the perspective that you don't want to be around people, but that your growth, your engagement, your understanding sometimes even is limited because you don't have that social aspect of community, because you're only being fed as much as you can be behind the screen. And two, I think that the convenience thing could be a cop out sometimes. Because if we're
Mm.
being honest, personally, let me just confess. I know Gazi likes confessions. Oftentimes I woke up at 9:58 to go to church for 10 o'clock. And I just roll over and press the button to join the service. You
That's
know?
laziness.
Like,
But
Oh,
listen, honestly,
no
but
discipline.
here I'm gonna challenge you, Judah, and this is, I think, one of the arguments for physical church. There is a mental response and expectation that comes when you get ready to go to church, especially when you go in with the expectation of connecting with people, worship, and all that sort of stuff. When you're
right,
at the convenience of your home and you roll over and click the button, was there any preparation? Are you mentally in the state? Or is it just a by the side note thing that I am attending church, but I am not really engaging God? And the question is asked really not in preparation for a church, interacting
right.
with the church, but our preparation, where is our
So,
mental and heart preparation in terms of coming before God? Right? So then
right,
people ask, okay, why do I mentally get ready and they go to physical church. But when coming to virtual church, I don't have the same mental preparation. I just see it as well. I could just turn up, or I could stand here and click my toenails and listen to the service and sing the songs, or do whatever. Do so many other things. Does God
yeah,
really have my full attention
Mhm.
during
exactly.
online service? I'm
Right.
just
And
asking.
that's a very valid question because all of these things we have to consider because nobody knows what you're doing behind the screen. Although we see Judah Burt has logged in or what's not, we don't know if Judah Burt is really engaged.
Yeah.
You're right.
Maybe Judah Burt doesn't even know if she's engaged. Just generally speaking, using myself as an example, and
Mhm.
that is because convenience could breed laziness, as we did mention before, and that could turn into complacency, and that could go down a whole road that we don't even have the time to touch on right now.
Mhm.
For sure.
Also, it must be said that there's some people who are at physical church that aren't engaged. They're in the phones or doing something else.
That was what I
I've
was
seen
going
that.
to say.
That
I've
that
seen
makes it
that not
so
only with
much
youth.
different to do
I've
all
seen that not only with young people, but with older people. You will see older people in church and phone going off, ping ping, and it's just texting and all that sort of stuff. So I
We have
guess it
our work
is
to do.
something. our standards should always be the same, whether we are going to physical church or virtual church. That's just my
Yeah,
opinion.
definitely. I think you just need to like check yourself, right? Make sure that you're
Yeah, for
checking
sure.
yourself wherever you are. Once you're in God's presence, and you're supposed to, be focusing on Him.
Yep.
Focus,
Right.
focus on Him.
All right, so we have 15 more minutes to close this off, but let's quickly look at this and then we're going to get our takeaways. But someone is saying yes to reach those who may not be able to get out at this time, to reach the vulnerable, to reach those who may be a bit fearful than others, or those who may have a phobia of some kind as it relates to returning. So they're saying that we should
Mm.
keep online church to facilitate those persons. And then another person is saying it's the leadership to decide. Honestly, don't think that youth will engage with our local churches content post COVID for two reasons. So this person is saying they don't think that young people would engage with local church content after COVID. And here are the two reasons. Youth go to youth group to socialize, and socializing is more fun when you can actually physically interact with your friends. And two, content quality wise, Hillsong stuff is more fun. If I'm seeing my church friends on a regular, I'm not going to watch my church's content because it's not as cool as Hillsong's. During COVID, I watched my church's content. I went to the virtual youth group because I missed my friends. It wasn't great, but it was better than not having any interaction with them. All right, so that was one
Mm.
person's thought on that. And then I think the last question was, what will be your advice or suggestion to a local church and youth leaders in light of what COVID had presented? Some persons are saying, be flexible in your approach. Don't be afraid to try new things. Continue to engage the youth and church on a whole, and continue to follow the Holy Spirit's leading. Don't become complacent after the lockdown is over and restrictions are lifted. So that's some advice there. Keep the faith, stay connected to the members and the youth, build stronger relationships through devotions and quotes of the day, quizzes to keep the desire of the heart in the lives of the body of Christ. And then the final comment is, get over the ritual of church, the pattern, the traditional way of things being prayer, worship, offering, message, altar call, music, benediction. I think we need to get more discussion oriented, always resembling a line where people feel comfortable to talk and share and discuss and ask questions, more family stuff. Still can have music and offering, and people may be more inclined to give with an atmosphere that feels more helpful and relevant to life as we know it and to encounter it. So we're going to pause there. But to you guys, what would be your advice? You're going to take in some comments from the chat, but what would be your advice to churches and youth leaders going forward?
All of the above. That's how I feel about it. And Crystal says she wakes up at 8:25 for 8. The only reason she doesn't oversleep is because you see, and I have response. Anyway,
Oh, confessions is good for the
but we're
soul.
going back to church. We're going back to physical church this week, so that is okay. But yeah, I think that we definitely, like, above all, we need to, utilize every avenue, as Glenn also has been repeating. No, Phil, okay, the problem is not the technology, it's how we use it, which is the bottom line here. We have to, make the best use of every resource that we have, because the truth is that we have these things and they can benefit us. It's a matter of how we use it to, increase our engagement and our impact. I think that the church as a whole, in our various bodies and local assemblies, that we need to assess how we do things and make wise decisions for the better interest of who we are trying to reach, and not necessarily just holding on to what we have become accustomed to and or are comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to echo what Judah said and just highlight the fact that once the doctrine, once the gospel isn't being changed, like once you're not altering that, once you're not adding any irrelevant things to that or deleting from it, then you're free to use whatever media you want to use to get through to people. And I feel like that's something that leaders need to know and need to be told and need to understand, and not just hear with their ears, but hear with their hearts and hear with their spirits. so that they can understand, like, once I am spreading the gospel, once the information is still there, then I can still utilize technology, as Philip would have said, like, you just use the technology to your advantage. It's not the technology that is the problem. It's not like the devil made the phone, or
Mm.
Satan, made the Zoom app,
That
like.
phone is of the devil. Drums are of the devil.
But yeah, so once we keep the message there, like, it's fine. And I feel like leaders just need to know that, and they need to, shake off that rigidity, get more flexible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I agree with both Judah and Sharon. I just want to say that leaders should be more intentional, and as I was saying before, not to water down that gospel. Make sure the gospel is still being preached,
Mm-hmm.
clarity, and build that relationship between you and your members. That is extremely important. We're here with people, and as a leader, you have that responsibility. You really need to make sure that relationship is there between the members and between you and the members. Yeah, and also, like, we've been given technology, as Sharon was saying, is not from the devil. And even if, like, there's a song we sing, you take what the enemy meant for evil and you turn it for good.
And you took it from
So
my good.
yeah. Yeah, like, be intentional and focus on making disciples. So that's your mission. So whatever way you can do that, make sure you utilize those avenues.
So, Glenn,
Agree.
according to your advice, we should take Bashment Soka and use it for spreading gospel. That might be next
Oh
season.
boy.
Don't discuss it now. Next season, Glenn. Next season. But
Uh,
honestly, right? In looking at a lot of it, I think, and this is my personal. I know you guys may have some takeaways, but this is my personal observation, and what I think COVID has done is expose a lot of churches. Is like peeling back a lot of plasters that we had, and there are churches who, for whatever reason, did not engage their membership during that COVID period. I know of churches that have not had any engagement with their membership during COVID. And to me, that is sad because you have to ask the question, so what is it all about? Is it about the traditional church where if I cannot have a service in a building under my terms, I am not having anything at all? What is the message you are sending there? And I think it is an awakening in that, look, we have so many tools available to us to carry the gospel to people who need to hear it. I've seen there are churches who I would mention one U.S. church, and I'll also mention one local church as example. There was a U.S. church who I know may not be able to hold 5,000 people, more than 5,000 people in their church, but during COVID, their church services, there were over 40,000 people watching that service live during
Wow.
COVID. There is a church where they have is a small church, only about 50 to 60 persons generally, 60 to 80 persons would generally visit the church on physically on Sundays, and they resorted to online church, and they had 200 people watching their live stream. So I mean, I know I'm not saying that churches to say, well, hey, because we have an online platform, let's stay there and not engage physically, but I'm just showing how we have tools that we can use to complement. I know, for instance, there are people who don't go to church, but because of the opportunity of being able to watch church and being part of a church during COVID, where they wanted that inspiration, they wanted to hear a message that would uplift them in all that they were going through. That was their church, and that could even transcend to actually come into a physical church. But the
Right.
question is asked: would what you get during your online session be what you get with the physical thing in terms of the level of I feel like I'm a part of this. I feel like I'm someone. I'm not just of someone warming the seat. So all those are things that I think we need to really look at. What has COVID done to expose really the vision of the church? Who is the church serving? Are they willing to adapt to change, or are they just going to stand still and wait till the storm is over, according to some people, and then decide, oh, well, let's come back and do what we were doing before, like if that was a just a blip in the thing, and we continue. All right, so
Right.
that's just my contribution. We're going to take a short break, and then when they come back is, well, I'll be out of the picture, but you guys will be back with, or y'all don't want me to go? What do you think I should go? No,
It seems like you
you
want to
guys,
stay.
I don't know, I don't know, but we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with you guys to close off with what's trending and any other thing else that you may have as takeaways. Let's take a short break.
You are watching Locked and Loaded on Echo Nation.
And we're back.
And we're back. Thank you, Gauzy, if you can hear us. I don't know where you went. I thought you were gonna stay. He's gone. He left us. But yes, that was a really great discussion. I want to thank each and every one of you for participating. I mean, we did hit some really good points. Really, really good points. So we just want to get into the takeaways. So I'm just firstly going to say that we should make sure as a church that we use every tool available to us to engage, win souls, and make disciples.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I also believe what we invest in shows how much value we actually place on the gospel. Not just doing what satisfies us or what is comfortable, but constantly looking at how we could deliver the gospel so it engages, impacts, and transforms other people's lives.
Right.
What about you,
And then
Jay?
my main takeaway is that online church, physical church, whatever kind of engagement we have, we do have to ask ourselves the question, are we giving God and our fellowship our undivided attention? We
Mhm.
talked about a lot tonight, and the bottom line is our hearts and, our level of interest and our level of personal engagement as well. So regardless of what methods we use in our church services or our church sessions, where are our hearts? That's my takeaway. Let's ask ourselves that. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Echo Nation. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website at www.echolation.com.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you so much for that, Glenn. Honestly,
No problem.
yeah. So now we are going to go into what's trending. Guys, do you know what's trending?
No, Sharon, what is trending?
Well, we have Chill Vibes. Judah, tell us about Chill Vibes.
Well, listen, y'all know this is me every single week telling everybody, do not miss Chilled Vibes. And this Saturday, July 4th at 7 p.m., it is an all Jamaican affair with Lucas Music. And we would have seen one of his songs, in a few episodes back. We watched his song, what did he say? Switching up the cycle. Yes, that's what it song says. Switching up the cycle. And we're talking about switching up the cycle in church. So look at that. How on point is this? So don't miss it, Lucas Music and Chosen. We know we have the open mic. We look forward to see you guys come up with your spoken word pieces, your musical performances, your songs, whatever it is we want to see it. Share it with us. And we also have DJ Stick in the building, and they're coming all the way from Jamaica. So come on, guys, don't miss this. It's always a vibe at Chill Vibes, and this Saturday is not.
It's DJ Sticko. It's DJ Sticko.
Oh, that's all. That's it. Okay, that's it all, guys. DJ Sticko. It's gonna be great. That's just it. It's gonna be great. And we have to remind you guys too that next week is the season finale of Chilled Vibes, as well as Lots and Loaded, honestly.
Yeah.
If we're gonna
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about how do you guys feel about us having a line just for the closing of Loaded? We just have this huge line and we invite all of you and we just kind of fellowship on that kind of thing and eat some good food.
That
What do you
question is
guys
to
think
you guys
about
in the
that?
comments, by the way.
Yes.
I think I'm ready. Sure, no problem. Let's
If
do
you're
it.
about it, you'll
Have a
get straight to planning. You'll get straight to planning.
very
For sure.
yes. We get to see you guys and meet you face to face, and engage with you guys. I think it would be awesome. Honestly, I'm so
Yeah.
excited by that. Let us know what you guys think. What do you think
Yeah,
about it,
for sure.
Sharon?
I think it would be great. Honestly, like it would be fantastic to see some of the faces behind some of the names. Just so they actually meet them,
Mm.
see them in person. Yeah, that would be a
Yeah,
real chill vibe.
yeah, yeah. And we've been pushing that face to face communication all through our
True.
series. So it's something that I really looking
Yeah.
forward to. So yeah. So
And
stay
if you're
tuned for
afraid of
that.
face to face, it could be mask to mask. Okay?
Wow.
Mask. Get
Yeah,
it? Like mask, mask.
I got it.
I
I
thought it
got
was
it.
funny.
So yeah, look out for our season finale next week, July the 7th. Of course, we are sad that we are, coming to the close of this season, but it's only the first season. So don't go anywhere, stay connected with us, stay tuned to our social media pages with all of our announcements and what's not. And we will be back. And next season is gonna be even better. So don't miss it.
Yep, it will. And also, what else is trending is that on July 3rd, there's going to be a discussion called Future Church. Yep, a discussion about the future of the church in light of present circumstances. Doesn't that sound familiar? So it would have been typical to what we were talking about, but it's still something that we want to get ourselves involved in. And they're going to be asking some questions. So, like, what has the current situation of COVID-19 taught us, and on how we prepared for the change, and what glimpse has it given us into what the future holds? What's the role of present and future leaders in preparation for the future church? For future
Right.
church, and what do we need to do and focus on as a church in order to prepare for our future church? Amazing questions, things that we may have touched maybe on the surface on, but they're going to go deep into it. You're going to have pastors, apostles, ministers, as you see on the top, and it will be on Facebook Live on Apostle Selwyn Brathwaite's Facebook page. So yes, Future Church happening July 3rd, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. Very interesting stuff. Yep.
And I like the fact that it said it's a candid discussion, which
Mm-hmm.
means that it's our chance to, we can definitely go in as the younger generation representing the same future leaders that they're asking about, and talk about what we think should go into play. We've had this discussion now. Let's go to the next step and talk about plans. What are we going to do next? Let's talk about it at Future Church.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's what's trending.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, that is all that we have for you that is trending. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you guys so much for tuning in to our penultimate episode of Locked and Loaded. Yep. Next week will be our last one for the season, but then we'll take a break and we'll be coming right back. So we just want to make sure that you guys have subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you haven't, please do so. Please check us out on Instagram. And remember, if you're interested in ever participating in Wuhz de Vibe, then you can send us a message on Instagram send us a quick message so that you can be featured responding to one of our questions, which will be along the topic that we are talking about. I just saw Mobby. Oh, what?
Sorry, I was triggered.
Listen, right? Listen, I might not be attending this line because I've seen a lot of pineapple.
Negativity. It's a lot of negativity.
It's a lot of negativity for sure. I think we need to
We
be
will have
close.
lemonade for Sharon, and we will have pineapple-less pizza for Glenn.
I think we need a separate. I think we need a separate line for the people who want pineapple.
Oh my god!
That's just.
Come on, Glenn. Come on.
Wow.
I just wanted to add this thing in that you guys are watching. You know, if you've been watching us for so long, shout out to everyone who has been a loyal viewer and follower. And if you are interested, you can also volunteer with Echo Nation. You definitely can. There are a lot of areas that you can operate in, from videography, photography, graphic design, all these different things, and there are more. So that's just a little piece, a little piece of what you can get involved in. And we also encourage you, as long as you can, to definitely become a financial partner and donate, support us financially, support the movement, not just us, but the movement, because we are one of the organizations that are one of the charities that's working towards furthering not only the gospel but reaching young people where they're at and changing lives. Our vision is to change the culture, to change the future. So here's our information. You can definitely become a financial partner using our Scotiabank information, and you can find all of this information too. You can contact us via email, as well as checking out our website, www.eckonation.com. Right.
Boom.
That's that.
That is that. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. This was an amazing discussion, and we are so glad that we had you here. Thank you for everything, all your commenting, sharing with other people, and we look forward to seeing you not only at Chill Vibes, but next week for our final episode of season 1, Locked and Loaded. Yep. Let me just do that too.
We love you guys. We look forward to every single
Yep,
week.
spreading love. All right, have a great night, everyone, and a great week, and see you next week, Tuesday.
At 8 p.m.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Voice of the youth, standing up for the truth. Hear it loud, hear it strong, and we not turn it down. Hear the voice of the youth, standing up for the truth.